What's up, guys, and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight build video. So with the addition of Rick Grimes and Michonne, we have 6 new survivor perks to play around with in the game. To be honest, majority of them are pretty trash. However, on the Michonne side of things, she's got a couple of good perks here. So the one that we're going to be looking at in this video is Conviction. So Conviction, basically after you've healed one survivor. Now this could be bugged right now because it says after you've healed one survivor. Now this actually just means yourself as well. It doesn't matter about the health state, how much you heal. It doesn't work like Second Wind where you have to heal a full health state or anything like that. You can literally heal 1% of yourself or somebody else, and this will activate Conviction, which is why I really like this perk. It doesn't require a lot to get use out of, honestly, just to have it activated. And of course, once you have it activated, when you go down, once you reach 25% of the recovery progress, you press the ability button, that being A on controller right now on Xbox. You can get yourself up off the floor, and you've got an extra 30 seconds to run around, basically. So the reason why I really like this is so many times I've ended a chase, the killer's gotten to kick a pallet, for example, and because I have this build, I'm actually able to get back up straight away, more or less, and then just run across the entire map. And then you know, moving on to the next perks, we'll get into why it's so good. And then we have Tenacity here. Tenacity is one of the interchangeable perks in this build. The reason I like to put this on is that, you know, sometimes when you get downed by a killer, they're looking for you on the floor, aren't they? Sometimes. So Tenacity is a good way to kind of just move away from the area and potentially get yourself up a lot faster as well. You will see in some gameplay of Tenacity coming in very useful here. But, you know, there is some other slugging builds, anti-slugging perks that you can put on over Tenacity if you do decide to do that. I just highly recommend having Tenacity, but, you know, you could have, you know, flip-flop on, I guess. You could try and run something like that instead of Tenacity. You can play around with it for how you want to play it, but I would definitely have Tenacity in my build in particular, but it's entirely up to you. It's one of those interchangeable ones for this build. One that isn't interchangeable in this build is Unbreakable. And, you know, this has probably fell out of favor, honestly, since I've came back to the game after like 5 years of being away from it. I don't really see many people running Unbreakable or anything. Now, the reason I'm saying Unbreakable is key here. Obviously, it recovers your dying speed like 35% faster, but it'll also get you up off the floor. So the way Conviction works is once you get up off the floor, you gain the broken status, and then you are downed again automatically after 30 seconds. So if you need to, you can use Unbreakable to get yourself off the floor again the second time. This time you won't go down again, though. But there's been occasions where I will just 99 myself with Unbreakable and let somebody else get me up, basically. And I usually, you know, for a tip for the build, we'll give it after we go for all the perks and, you know, just how to really utilize it and get benefits out of it there. And then for the last one, we have Soul Guard, another one that probably not many people run these days. And this basically gains you the endurance effect when you do pick yourself up off the floor. So this works with Conviction, so you can get yourself up off the floor immediately. After you've just lost the chase of the killer, they go to kick a pallet, you get yourself off the floor with Conviction, and then Soul Guard's going to activate. And once they hit you, because they're like, oh, what the hell's gone on here? Why is this person up off the floor already? Then they basically get in a free speed boost away to start the chase again for another 30 seconds. So it's a real-time killer. It's a way to negate killers even getting hooks, honestly, and this is why I love this build so much. I've been running it a ton recently on the last couple of days, and it's just been a blast using this. So, you know, tips for this build. Obviously, the big thing that we've got to worry about here is, you know, being broken and then going down after 30 seconds after we've used our Conviction. So, you know, you can try and use this in any way that you want, really. I try and use it just after I've lost a chase as a killer if I can. You know, I'm on the floor, I'm recovering with Unbreakable, I'm using Tenacity to get away and like make the killer walk just even a second longer to me to pick me up. And just spamming the A button, because you've got to be really quick sometimes to get that Conviction and just being able to get up off the floor and then have the killer all confused. And this is why it's a great build, because so many killers just don't expect it, you know, and you're kind of taking a hook state away from them, and they've just wasted a lot of time chasing you, and then they're going to have to chase you again. Yeah, you might go down if the killer continues to chase you, but in my experience so far, when I've been getting up off the floor with Conviction, I've had the opportunity to just get away from them and go on the other side of the map. And this is where my tips are going to come into play here of when you do use Conviction in this manner of, you know, just ending a chase with a killer, you know, head to a generator on the other side of the map or something along those lines that hasn't been completed, and then just sit by there, use your Unbreakable. You know, if you don't see anybody coming over you, then just use your Unbreakable to get up off the floor. But the good thing about this is you can you can chain Conviction and Unbreakable, so you can pull yourself up off the floor twice, and then if you use Unbreakable, it will then refresh the charge of Conviction, so it'll activate Conviction yet again, which is a really good thing because Unbreakable classes that you're healing yourself and, you know, getting yourself up off the floor, basically. So again, it's got some really good chemistry there. Another way to use this, obviously, is like endgame collapse. You know, you're all trying to beeline for the exit gates. You can take some hits there. If you feel like the killer's going to try and slug everyone, you know, make sure you, if you're brave enough and you want to take the chance, you can go down. So then the killer kind of peels away from everybody else, and you can take a protection hit from somebody. And by the time the killer is chased everybody out of the gate, your Conviction will be ready. You get up with Conviction, and then you've got your Soul Guard there, which will give you your endurance, and then you can just basically run out scot-free. This is why this build is just so much fun. Another one, again, if you're getting, you know, you go for an unhook on somebody, but the killer decides to slug you near a hook. Same thing, really. You know, you can use your Conviction to get somebody off the hook and then get away, and then you can heal up and stuff, even though you will go down. Hopefully that survivors there to help you out as well. So there's a lot of situations this comes in really handy. Obviously, there is going to be games where a killer will just immediately pick you up because that'll just happen. You know, you try and get yourself on a pallet to where it has the killer kind of hesitating, you know, or is somebody going to pallet stun me if I get picked up? You know, some killers will just want to tank that pallet hitting anyways. You know, there's just so many different scenarios, but in, you know, general basis of my games, you know, I'm getting used out with this build like 95% of my games. There's only been a couple of games where I haven't really had the opportunity to get a good get any good benefits from it, you know. But other than that, you know, it's just a really solid build, and it's probably one of Michonne's better perks, Conviction, honestly. And, you know, Last Stand's another one that we're going to be looking at in another build video, so we'll check that out. But honestly, just it's great seeing some older perks come back into play, like Unbreakable and Soul Guard, even Tenacity. Like I said, you can interchange Tenacity. I just use it to get that little bit of distance away from the killer when they, you know, try and pick me up, and then it actually helps me out again that little bit more distance so Conviction can activate. And of course, what you want to do with this build is bring an emergency medkit, or just any medkit really, just because that even if you heal yourself, it will activate your Conviction as well, and you'll have that ready as well. So yeah, that's basically the build, and have fun with it. That's all I've got to say. It is super fun build. I've been enjoying running it. It's definitely going to be making it into my like top 5 builds to use right now, especially with how, you know, most games these days I've noticed a lot of slugging going on again. So yeah, it's a good thing to have something like this in your kit. Obviously, you're kind of designing your whole build around anti-slugging, so you know, just bear that in mind. It ain't gonna work every game, but it is it's kind of like an ace up your sleeve type of build of like, yeah, I've got a few tricks of my own here, and the killers just get totally caught off guard with it, which is why I love it so much. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the build. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for more Dead by Daylight content on this channel. I do stream on this channel as well, so you don't have to go anywhere else for that. And I have been Pixels, and my awesome views. I catch you guys in the next one.